Hello, my name is Matthew Pandus, and this is my capstone dissemination. So, in this presentation, I will go over the healthcare issue, my proposed solution, stakeholders needed, approach to the problem, resources needed, strategy for stakeholders, potential barriers, and steps to overcome these barriers. So, the healthcare issue. So, diabetes is a major problem in our country. In the United States, about 53.1 million people are reported to either have type 1 or type 2 diabetes. The issue that will be addressed is patient compliance for the use of needles. For a diabetic or any patient, no one really likes pain, especially when it comes to needles. And for diabetics, this is very common as to measure your blood glucose levels, or to give yourself insulin every meal that you need to eat. These needle sites usually change, so they have to vary, so you cannot be poking yourself in the same place every time, as this leads to a condition called lipohypertrophy, which also affects like the flow of insulin and also affects like a diabetic's A1C levels. Proposed solution. So for a continuous blood glucose monitoring system, the device works by inserting a needle into the patient's body to measure glucose levels consistently and accurately. The sensor usually lasts on average 10 to 30 days. So my solution for this healthcare related issue is to develop a needleless CGM device. The device will measure blood glucose levels through heart rate, and it will be a bracelet which will be able to read a person's pulse and get an accurate reading. The data for the person's blood glucose level will be recorded on their smartphone, on an app, or a medical device, whether the patient chooses to not use a smartphone. All these connections will be through Bluetooth. So, our stakeholders needed. So, the stakeholders that we need for this project are endocrinologists, vendors, nurses, administrators, and engineers. So, endocrinologists work very close with patients, helping them manage their A1C levels. Having a needleless CGM can help them by leveraging the benefits of CGM systems. Endocrinologists can provide more effective, data driven care to their patients with diabetes, ultimately leading to improved outcomes and potentially reduce long term complications. So, vendors, so take for instance Dexcom, Medtronic, and Abbott, big companies that make CGMs. They benefit from this by expanding the market for CGM devices. Ongoing improvements in this technology, such as increased accuracy and smaller devices and smartphone interrogation, they allow vendors to make new products and maintain the market interest. These vendors can form specific partnerships with healthcare systems and insurance companies, potentially leading to bulk orders and long-term contracts. Nurses and administrators are impacted by this plan by reducing exposed risk and workload. CGMs allow nurses to monitor glucose levels from outside patient rooms, reducing their exposure to infectious patients. This also gives nurses new training and skill development opportunities as well. For administrators, it reduces the workload for nurses, allowing them to allocate staff more effectively, potentially addressing staffing shortages or redirecting any resources to other critical areas. Another impact for administrators is technology integration. So administrators must manage the implementation of CGM systems. This includes addressing new challenges such as hospital firewalls and documentation procedures. It also has it as it offers improved patient care, reduced workload, it also has potential cost savings while also presenting new challenges in implementation and policy development. So approach to the problem. So our approach is a mixed method approach. So it consists of combining qualitative data, which is A1C levels and heart rate measurements, with qualitative feedback, which is gathered through surveys and interviews from patients to healthcare providers. So for for quantitative data, we this will be by collecting baseline data on patients' A1C levels, heart rate, and frequency of hypoglycemic events before implementing the needleless CGM. For as this will for to collect that type of data, this will continuously monitor blood glucose levels and heart rate using the CGM device, as also to track hospitalizations and emergency room visits related to diabetes. For qualitative data, this is by conducting surveys to assess patient satisfaction with the new CGM system. So we will do this by like having we'll interview healthcare providers such as endocrinologists, nurses, to gather feedback on the CGM's usability and their impact on the workflow. So the resources that are needed. So first is our personnel. The project evaluator is the person who is responsible for running the whole operation. They look over how the CGM is being developed, how the data is gathered. That is the responsibility of the project evaluator, as they're in charge of designing and implementing the evaluation plan. For a data analyst, their responsibility is to analyze the quantitative data. Quantitative data meaning the A1C levels, the heart rates, and to track all throughout the whole like hospitals, clinics. Their their job is to look over the data, make sure it's organized. And then we have our data collectors. So this will consist of a staff team to collect and manage data. They conduct surveys and they perform our interviews. So they'll give they'll send out the surveys on how the CGM device is doing, or like when it comes to like healthcare providers, like how do they feel regarding to the needleless CGM interrogation. Next is equipment and software. So first first up is data analysis. So data analysis includes like statistical software for data analysis, such as SPSS or hard soft or R software. Personally, I think SPS would be our best option, knowing that it is a much user friendly. They're very user friendly, and even from starting or beginning, will be able to use SPSS compared to our software. Our software requires some sort of level of coding to actually function that particular type of software. Surveys will be for survey software for online data collection. And then lastly, CGM devices and supplies. So our equipment would be for like what powers the CGM device, like what other supplies do we need other than just the transmitter and the sensor. The next is budget. So budget, we have our personal cost, that is to pay the evaluator, our data collectors, and our data analysts. Software and equipment costs run for SPSS, how we need people to function and help us run the software. Then we have our incentives for patients. So if our patients get injured, they or if they have other problems with the CGM device, that is also at a cost. And the last cost is dissemination cost for sharing evaluation findings. So our strategy for stakeholders. So first, for our stakeholders that we want to emphasize user-friendly features. That is for patients. We do this through multimedia tutorials, peer testimonials, and simplified educational materials to demystify technology adaptation. Training modules. So healthcare providers require data on clinical efficiency, interoperability with existing systems such as EHR, electronic health records, and training modules highlighting actionable insights from glucose trends, supported by case studies and peer-reviewed evidence. Lastly is communication framework. So this is it's mostly more on is to communicate with everyone else, to share, like also to share like what other findings they have with like the CGM, the needleless CGM device. So the barriers that we have. So as technology is evolving, it must go through the process of being approved by the FDA so that it's safe to use. As new CGMs are being developed, they're unfortunately still in the testing phase. They still haven't got through the approval. And as from the testing phase, affordability is a big problem, but also with the device themselves, with inaccurate glucose readings or equipment issues where the transmitter doesn't respond to the receiver or the receiver doesn't catch up what the transmitter is picking up. It could also be a sensor problem. Sensors, they may not be attached to the body. They may not be even touching the body at all. Without a certain place of the body, they won't be able to get an accurate reading, which leads to inaccurate glucose readings. So the steps to overcome these barriers. So first, we prioritize technological innovation. So this is by leveraging advancements in enzymatic sensors and then photothermal detection or minimal invasive methods. So like patches using industrial fluid to eliminate needles and improve accuracy. We collaborate with academic institutions and leaders like Diamontech or Nuamura Medical. Next is focusing on the FDA approval. So streamlining the FDA approval by adhering to rigorous testing protocols, including comprehensive software validation, usable studies, and real-world performance trials, while engaging early regulations to navigate pathways like a 501(k) or a PMA. Then it's to ensure affordability. So ensuring availability, this will be through cost reduction strategies such as scalable manufacturing. And we can also form partnerships with, let's say, Medtronic or Dexcom. This could lead to building the device in bulk and actually controlling the price to a decent amount where people can actually afford them. Fourth, lastly, is to address the advocacy for insurance coverage reforms to include the next CGMs. So, lastly, to address market adaptation. So we do this by designing user-friendly interfaces. So the implementation of Bluetooth, making it easier for the CGM to actually communicate with the device. And this also provides training programs for others, like even healthcare providers. It will we can also educate patients on how to use that certain device where they don't have any problems at all. Thank you.